everything. There comes a point in life when you realize that power doesn't come from how loud you speak, how fast you think, or how much money you make. It comes from control. Everything. The person who can master their mouth, their mind, their mood, and their money holds the keys to peace, influence, and prosperity. Everything. Most people spend their entire lives reacting, saying things they regret, thinking thoughts that drain them, letting moods dictate their days. Everything. And watching money slip through their fingers. But the truth is simple. Discipline isn't restriction, it's liberation. Everything. This audiobook is about learning how to stay in charge of yourself when everything around you tries to pull you off balance. Once you master these 4 elements, everything, nothing and no one can control you again. There's a kind of power that doesn't shout, doesn't argue, and doesn't need to prove itself. Everything. It's the power of controlled speech. The kind that turns heads, earns trust, and influences hearts without ever breaking a sweat. Everything. Most people go through life saying whatever comes to mind, reacting instead of responding, and wondering why they keep ending up in conflict, regret, or misunderstanding. Everything. But the truth is simple. If you can master your mouth, you can master your life. Think about it. One careless sentence can destroy a relationship that took years to build. Everything. One sharp reply can turn a friend into an enemy. One impulsive outburst can ruin a career, and yet one well-timed word, one calm, thoughtful response can open doors, heal wounds, everything, and change the direction of your future. Your mouth is a tool of creation and destruction, and every time you open it, you decide which side you're on. Everything. The difference between ordinary and extraordinary communicators isn't vocabulary or volume, it's control. The most influential people in the world understand when to speak. Everything. How to speak, and when silence says more than words ever could. You've seen it before. Someone walks into a meeting, doesn't rush to talk, just listens. And when they finally speak, everything, the entire room goes quiet. Why? Because control creates respect. People listen more carefully to those who don't waste words. But for most of us, everything, that kind of calm doesn't come naturally. We're taught to express ourselves, to defend our opinions, to respond instantly. Social media trains us to react within seconds, to clap back, everything, to argue, to prove we're right. Yet the strongest voices aren't the loudest. They're the ones that speak only when it matters. Everything. Mastering your mouth means resisting the pull of impulse and replacing reaction with intention. Let's make it practical. Everything. Imagine someone insults you. Maybe a coworker makes a passive-aggressive comment, or a stranger online says something cruel. The natural instinct is to hit back, to defend yourself. Everything. To prove you won't be disrespected. But here's the truth. The moment you react, you've handed over control. You're no longer leading the moment. You're following it. Everything. The person who provoked you now controls your mood, your words, and your energy. The real strength lies in the pause, that split second where you could say something, but choose not to. Everything. That moment of silence isn't weakness. It's authority. It's you saying, you don't get to dictate my energy. There's a story about a wise monk who was insulted by a traveler. Everything. The traveler shouted at him, calling him names, trying to provoke him. But the monk stood still, calm and unmoved. After a while, the traveler grew tired and asked, everything, why don't you respond? The monk smiled and said, if someone gives you a gift and you refuse to accept it, to whom does the gift belong? The traveler was silent. The monk added, everything. So it is with anger and insults. I choose not to accept them. That's the kind of mastery we're talking about. Not silence that comes from fear or submission, everything, but silence that comes from wisdom, the kind that says, I know my worth and I won't lower myself just to prove it. Now, this doesn't mean you should never speak up. Everything. Controlling your mouth isn't about muting your truth. It's about learning to deliver it with precision and purpose. There's a time to be quiet. Everything. And there's a time to speak, but only when your words add value. Speaking less doesn't make you weak, it makes your voice more powerful when you do choose to use it. Everything. Consider leaders you admire. They don't talk to fill space. They speak with weight. They use words that move people, not just words that sound good. Everything. They understand that communication isn't about being heard. It's about being understood, and being understood requires clarity, not chaos. Everything. One of the most effective habits you can build is pausing before speaking. That 2-second delay can change everything. Before you respond in anger, pause. Before you make a promise, pause. Everything. Before you gossip, complain, or share something out of emotion, Pause. Ask yourself, does what I'm about to say improve the situation or just release pressure from my emotions? Everything. You'll be surprised how often silence is the wiser move. Think of your mouth like a steering wheel. Every word you speak turns the direction of your life, toward peace or toward trouble. Everything. The words you speak to others shape your relationships, but the words you speak to yourself shape your identity. If your inner dialogue is full of criticism and negativity, everything, it spills out eventually. If you constantly tell yourself, I can't, I'm not good enough, or I always mess up, your mouth becomes a mirror of your insecurities. Everything. But when your thoughts shift to strength, I'm learning, I'm improving, I can handle this, your speech becomes confident, grounded, and magnetic. Everything. Controlled speech starts in the mind. That's why you can't master your mouth without mastering your thoughts. Your mouth is just the messenger. It delivers whatever your mind produces. Everything. If your mind is cluttered with noise, your words will sound like noise. But if your mind is calm, your words carry wisdom. That's why people who think deeply often speak slowly. Everything. They've learned that a delayed word is often a wiser word. Let me give you a simple exercise that can change how you communicate forever. For the next 24 hours, practice conscious speech. Everything. Every time you're about to speak, ask yourself 3 questions. Is it true? Is it necessary? Is it kind? If the answer to any of those is no, choose silence. Everything. You'll find that this small discipline builds massive inner strength. You'll start noticing how much energy you save by not engaging in arguments that don't matter. Everything. You'll see how people start listening to you differently, with more respect, because your words start to mean something. There's another layer to this. Learning the art of tone. Everything. You can say the right thing the wrong way and lose the message. People don't just hear what you say, they feel how you say it. A calm voice disarms tension. Everything. A gentle tone turns confrontation into conversation. You can stand your ground without raising your voice. In fact, the quieter your tone, the more others have to lean in to listen. Everything. That's power. In difficult situations, always remember this: not everything deserves a response. Some things deserve peace. When someone tries to drag you into drama, everything. Sometimes the best move is to say nothing at all. Silence is not surrender, it's strategy. It allows you to stay in control of the narrative, of your energy, and of your dignity. Everything. And when you do speak, speak with intention. Use your words to heal, to guide, to uplift. There's already enough noise in the world. Your voice can be a source of clarity. Everything. Tell the truth, but tell it with compassion. Be honest, but not harsh. Correct people when needed, but with respect. You can be direct without being destructive. Everything. That's what separates those who simply talk from those who lead. Many people think that charisma is about charm or humor or loud confidence. Everything. But true charisma is emotional control. The ability to make others feel safe in your presence. When you've mastered your mouth, people trust you. They know you won't lash out. Everything. Gossip about them, or say what you'll later regret. Your words become a reflection of stability, and stability is magnetic. Imagine for a moment that every word you speak is a seed. Everything. Some seeds grow into flowers, others into weeds. Every conversation you have plants something in the minds and hearts of others. The question is, what are you planting? Positivity or poison? Everything. Understanding or confusion? Every sentence is an opportunity to add value or drain it. Speak less, but when you do, make it count. And finally, remember this truth. Everything. Your voice is not just a sound. It's a signal. It tells the world what's happening inside you. The more peace you have within, the more peace your words carry. Everything. Mastering your mouth is not about suppression. It's about expression through wisdom. It's about aligning what you say with who you truly are, calm, aware, and in control. Everything. Because when you can hold your tongue in anger, when you can speak softly in strength, and when you can let silence speak for you, you've stepped into a different level of power. Everything. The kind that doesn't need to prove, it just is. And that's the kind of power that changes everything. Most people live every day inside a storm they can't see. Everything. It's not outside them, it's in their mind. Thoughts rushing, replaying, worrying, comparing, doubting. The mind becomes like a crowded room where every voice is shouting at once. Everything. And peace feels impossible. But what if you could quiet that noise? What if you could walk through your days with a clear, calm mind? No matter what's happening around you. Everything. That's what it means to train your mind to think with clarity, not chaos. Because the truth is your mind is either your greatest servant or your worst master. Everything. We are born with incredible mental power, the ability to imagine, to reason, to solve, to create. But without discipline, that same power turns against us. Everything. It's like owning a high-performance car and never learning how to drive. You press the wrong pedal, steer in the wrong direction, and wonder why you keep crashing emotionally, mentally, everything, or even financially. The problem isn't the car, it's the lack of training. And your mind works the same way. Think about the last time you couldn't stop overthinking something, everything. Maybe it was a mistake you made, a message you sent, a decision you needed to make. Your thoughts spiraled, repeating the same scenarios over and over. Hours passed, maybe days, everything. And nothing actually changed except your energy. That's what an untrained mind does. It drains you, keeps you stuck in loops, and steals your clarity. A trained mind, on the other hand, everything. Doesn't avoid problems, it observes them calmly, solves them logically, and lets them go. One of the most powerful lessons in mental mastery is this: you are not your thoughts. Everything. You are the observer of your thoughts. Most people never realize this distinction. Everything. They believe every thought that enters their head must be true. I'm not good enough. I'll probably fail. They don't like me. This is hopeless. But a trained mind learns to pause and say, everything. Wait, is that actually true? Or is it just a passing thought? When you create that small moment of awareness, you take your power back. That pause is the birth of clarity. Everything. Here's the thing: your mind is like a garden. Whatever you plant grows. If you plant worry, you get anxiety. If you plant gratitude, you get peace. Everything. The soil doesn't judge, it just grows what you feed it. Most people water their weeds all day long, constant negativity, fear, comparison, everything. Then they wonder why their mental landscape looks like chaos. But you can replant your mind at any moment. It starts with awareness. Catch your thoughts in the act. Everything. Notice what you're feeding your mind, because what you repeat, you reinforce. There's a story about two wolves that live inside every person. One wolf is calm, wise, and patient. Everything. The other is restless, angry, and afraid. Which wolf wins? The one you feed. Every time you entertain a fearful thought, you feed the wrong wolf. Every time you slow down, breathe, everything, and choose a higher thought, even in small ways, you strengthen the wolf of wisdom inside you. That's how mental control is built. Not overnight, but through small, everything, consistent choices. If you want to train your mind, start by mastering the art of pause. When you feel triggered, when someone says something that sparks emotion, or when your anxiety rises, everything, don't react instantly. Take one deep breath. That breath is your reset button. It gives your mind just enough space to see clearly. Instead of being swept away by emotion, everything, you step back and become the one watching it. That's when clarity appears, not in noise, but in stillness. Think of elite athletes, soldiers, or leaders under pressure. Everything. The difference between those who crumble and those who rise isn't talent, it's mental composure. The trained mind stays calm when the untrained mind panics. The trained mind says, everything. I've got this, even when things look uncertain. And that calm confidence is available to anyone who's willing to practice awareness. Everything. One powerful practice is called mental labeling. Whenever a thought arises, name it. Say to yourself, everything. That's fear, or that's self-doubt, or that's comparison. By labeling the thought, you create separation between you and it. Suddenly, the thought loses its grip. Everything. You realize, I don't have to believe this. I don't have to follow it. That's the beginning of control. Everything. Another way to strengthen mental clarity is to challenge your automatic thinking. Most of what you think isn't even yours. It's borrowed from parents, teachers, media, everything, past experiences. If you grew up hearing, money is hard to earn, or you're too emotional, or you'll never make it, those ideas become invisible programming. Everything. They shape how you see yourself and what you expect from life, but you can rewrite that code. Ask yourself, whose belief is this? Does it serve me? If not, everything. You can replace it with something more empowering. It's not about pretending everything is perfect. It's about training your mind to look for solutions instead of problems. Everything. When you face a setback, the untrained mind says, this is the end. The trained mind says, what can I learn from this? Everything. How can I grow through this? That small shift in thinking changes everything. Suddenly, even failure becomes fuel. Now, let's talk about silence, the most underrated tool for clarity. Everything. The world today is noisy. Notifications, opinions, endless information. Most people's minds are never truly silent. But if you want to think clearly, you must learn to sit in stillness, everything, even for a few minutes each day. Turn off your phone, close your eyes, and breathe. Don't try to control your thoughts. Just watch them come and go, like clouds passing through the sky. Everything. At first, it feels strange. But with practice, you'll start to notice a deeper calm beneath the noise. That calm is your true self, the one that doesn't panic, doesn't react, everything, and always knows what to do. There's a story of a young man who went to a monk and said, "My mind is always restless. It jumps from one thing to another, everything. How can I find peace?" The monk replied, "Bring me your mind, and I'll calm it for you." The young man said, "But I don't know where my mind is." The monk smiled, "Everything. Then your mind is already calm." The lesson. The moment you become aware of your thoughts, they lose control over you. Awareness itself is peace, everything. You can't stop thoughts from coming, but you can stop letting them run your life. It's like waves in the ocean. You can't stop the waves, but you can learn to surf, everything. A calm mind isn't one with no thoughts, it's one that's not controlled by them. So ask yourself right now, what kind of thoughts do I want to lead my life? Everything. Thoughts of fear or thoughts of strength, because your mind listens to everything you say to yourself. If you constantly say, "I can't handle this," your mind obeys. If you say, "Everything, I'll figure it out," your mind begins searching for ways to make it happen. The words you feed your mind become its marching orders. Everything. One of the most practical ways to retrain your mind is through morning focus. Before you check your phone or step into the day, take 5 minutes to center yourself. Ask everything. What's one thing I want to feel today? Maybe it's calm, maybe it's focus, maybe it's gratitude. Then, throughout the day, remind yourself of that intention, everything. It's like setting the GPS for your thoughts. No matter how many detours come, your mind knows where to return. You'll notice that when your mind becomes clear, everything else begins to follow. Your emotions stabilize, your communication improves, your decisions get sharper, everything. It's not that life suddenly gets easier. It's that you stop making it harder by adding mental noise. Training the mind doesn't mean you'll never feel anxious, angry, everything, or uncertain again. It means those feelings won't control your actions anymore. You'll still feel storms, but you'll be the sky above them. Wide, steady, and unshaken. Everything. That's true clarity. That's real mental strength. And it all begins with one choice: to stop living as a prisoner of your thoughts and start living as their master. Everything. Once you take back the driver's seat, life doesn't just get quieter. It gets clearer, lighter, and infinitely more powerful. Everything. There's a certain kind of power that comes from staying calm when everyone else is losing their balance. You've seen it before. The person who doesn't react immediately, everything. Who doesn't raise their voice, who seems untouched by the chaos around them. People look at them and wonder, how do they stay so composed? Everything. The answer isn't that they don't feel anything. It's that they've learned how to regulate what they feel. Everything. They've built an inner anchor strong enough to hold steady no matter how rough the waters get. Emotional control isn't about being cold, detached, or suppressing your feelings. Everything. It's about mastery. Understanding what your emotions are trying to tell you, responding to them intelligently, and refusing to let temporary emotions make permanent decisions. Everything. Every person who has achieved greatness in leadership, relationships, business, or even art has learned this secret. They've learned to stay calm in the storm. Everything. Let's be honest, staying calm isn't easy. You can tell yourself, "I'm not going to get angry." But then someone says something disrespectful. Everything. Or you get that text that ruins your day, and your body reacts before your mind even catches up. Your heart races, your jaw tightens, your thoughts go wild. And in that moment, everything, you have a choice. Either become the emotion or step back and observe it. That single pause, that small space between stimulus and response, is where maturity begins. Everything. It's the split second where self-awareness steps in and says, "Wait, I don't have to go where this emotion is trying to take me." Everything. The power isn't in never feeling, it's in never letting your feelings take the wheel. Think about the last time you lost your temper. Maybe you said something sharp, slammed a door, everything, or made a decision you later regretted. In that moment, emotion was in control, but when you calm down hours later, you can see everything differently. Everything. You realize that what felt like a mountain was just a moment. That's the thing about emotions. They pass, but their consequences don't. Everything. That's why mastering your mood is one of the greatest forms of self-respect. You owe it to yourself to not let temporary feelings sabotage long-term peace. Here's something to remember. Everything. Emotional reactions are natural, but emotional regulation is intentional. You have to train it like a muscle. When you start paying attention to your emotional patterns, you begin to notice what triggers you. Maybe it's when someone ignores you. Maybe it's when you feel misunderstood. Maybe it's when plans don't go your way. Everything. Triggers are like emotional mirrors. They show you the parts of yourself that still need healing. And instead of blaming others for how they make you feel, emotional maturity asks you to take responsibility for your own state. Imagine you're driving and another car cuts you off. You feel anger immediately. Your hands grip the wheel. Your chest tightens. But instead of chasing, honking, or shouting, you take a deep breath. You remind yourself that your peace is worth more than proving a point to a stranger. You let it go. That single decision to not react isn't weakness. It's power. Because power isn't in control of others. It's in control of yourself. In a world that rewards reaction, composure becomes your superpower. Most people speak before thinking, post before reflecting, and act before breathing. But the people who rise above are the ones who respond, not react. They've trained their nervous system to stay grounded even under pressure. And the beautiful thing is, anyone can develop that ability. Start by building awareness. When you feel an emotion rise, name it. I'm angry. I'm disappointed. I'm hurt. Labeling your emotion separates you from it. You're not saying, I am angry, as if anger defines you. You're saying, I feel anger, as if it's a passing visitor. And like any visitor, it doesn't have to stay long. Next, breathe. It sounds simple, almost cliché, but the breath is the bridge between your body and your mind. When you take slow, deep breaths, you signal safety to your nervous system. You're telling your body, I'm not in danger. Because most emotional outbursts are just your brain trying to protect you from perceived threats. Rejection, disrespect, fear, loss of control. Breathing interrupts that panic loop. It brings you back to the present moment where rational thinking can return. Then ask yourself one powerful question. What outcome do I want? This question alone can save relationships, jobs, and reputations, because emotions want reaction, but wisdom wants results. If you focus on the outcome, your response becomes strategic, not impulsive. There's a story of a man who once worked under a very harsh boss, the kind who insulted people, made unreasonable demands, and criticized constantly. Most of his coworkers reacted emotionally, quitting in frustration or arguing back. But this man decided to stay calm. Every time his boss raised his voice, he silently repeated to himself, his words don't define me. My response does. He focused on performing well, staying respectful, and protecting his energy. Over time, that composure paid off. When the boss was replaced, the man was promoted. Not because he was the loudest, but because he was the most controlled. That's the quiet advantage of emotional intelligence. Staying calm doesn't mean tolerating disrespect or being passive. It means you respond with clarity, not chaos. You still set boundaries, but without losing your balance. You still express yourself, but without aggression. You learn that calmness is not the absence of emotion. It's the mastery of emotion. Sometimes, emotional regulation also means knowing when to step away. There's wisdom in silence. When you're too angry, too sad, or too hurt to respond rationally, give yourself space. Go for a walk. Write your feelings down. Talk to someone you trust. Don't let your emotions become your decision makers. The pause you take today can save you from the regret you'd feel tomorrow. And remember, emotional control doesn't mean emotional numbness. You're still human. You'll still feel sadness, frustration, fear, and joy. The goal isn't to shut those emotions down. It's to let them flow through you without letting them take over. Emotions are like waves. They rise, peak, and pass. You are not the wave. You are the ocean that holds it. When you start to live this way, something remarkable happens. Your mood no longer depends on how your day goes, or how people treat you. You stop being reactive to every message, every tone, every opinion. You become emotionally independent, and that is freedom. Because when you're steady inside, no storm outside can break you. There's a certain magnetism that comes from emotional control. People start to trust your presence. They know you won't explode when things go wrong. everything. You become the calm in the room, the person others turn to when chaos hits. And that calmness, it's not natural for most of us. It's earned one decision, one pause, everything, one breath at a time. The truth is, emotional control is the foundation of every other kind of success. You can't manage your money, your relationships, everything. Or your goals if you can't manage your mood. How you feel influences how you think, and how you think drives how you act. So when you master your emotions, you master your results, everything. Think of emotional regulation like training a muscle. The more you practice, the stronger it gets. At first, you'll still react, you'll still slip up, everything. You'll say things you wish you hadn't. But over time, with awareness and repetition, that gap between feeling and reacting will grow wider. One day, everything. Something that used to trigger you deeply will barely move you. You'll catch yourself smiling at situations that once sent you spiraling. That's growth. That's mastery. Everything. And it's not just about handling conflict. It's about creating peace. Because when your mood is steady, you attract steadiness. When you walk into a room calm, you set the tone. Everything. People feel your energy before they hear your words. Calmness isn't just an inner quality. It's a silent influence. Everything. So when life throws storms your way, and it will, don't resist the waves. Stand firm in your own center. Feel the emotion, breathe through it, and choose your response. Remember, everything. The strongest person in the room isn't the one who shouts the loudest, but the one who stays composed when everyone else falls apart. That's what it means to stay calm in every storm, everything. And the more you live this way, the more you'll realize that your power isn't in controlling the world, it's in controlling yourself. Because once you master your mood, everything, you master your world. Most people think money is about numbers, about how much you earn, save, or invest. But real wealth begins long before a paycheck. It begins with your habits, everything, your mindset and your discipline. Managing money isn't about controlling paper, it's about controlling yourself, everything. You don't build wealth by luck or by a one-time decision. You build it by mastering the small, invisible choices that no one sees. Think about this, everything. How many people do you know who suddenly came into money? Maybe they got a big bonus, inheritance, or windfall. And within months, it was gone. It's because they had more money, everything, but not more maturity. Money magnifies who you already are. If you're disciplined, it expands your stability. If you're careless, it multiplies your chaos, everything. That's why the first rule of wealth is to build discipline before dollars. Let's start with something simple but powerful. Delayed gratification, everything. It's one of the rare traits that separates the financially stable from the constantly struggling. In a world that rewards instant satisfaction, being able to wait has become a superpower. Everything. When you can say, "Not yet," to something that tempts you, you're not denying yourself. You're training yourself. You're saying, everything. I value my future more than my impulse. Imagine you walk into a store. You see something you really want, a new phone, a pair of shoes, maybe even a car. You can afford it, everything. Technically, but it would stretch your budget. Most people buy it anyway, convincing themselves it's a reward or a small treat. But wealth builders think differently. They pause. They ask, everything. Will this matter to me in 3 months? Will it help me grow? Everything. Or just help me look like I've already grown? That pause, that tiny moment of awareness, is what builds a fortune over time. Everything. Because discipline isn't about saying no to pleasure forever. It's about saying yes to something better later. You see, the goal is not to save money for the sake of saving everything. It's to develop a relationship with money that's rooted in respect, not emotion. Most people spend emotionally. They buy when they're stressed, when they're sad, everything, or when they feel empty. Money becomes therapy. But here's the truth: no purchase will ever fill what discipline can. Money can only magnify your mood, not fix it. Everything. When you buy because you're anxious, you feed a temporary feeling. But when you save or invest because you have a plan, you feed your freedom. Everything. Let's talk about something most people never do: tracking where their money actually goes. You can't manage what you don't measure. Everything. Yet millions of people live on autopilot. They get paid, they spend, they wonder where it all went. Then they call it bad luck or low income. But it's not always about how much you make, everything. It's about how much you respect what you make. A dollar you don't manage is a dollar that manages you. A practical exercise for 30 days, everything. Write down every single thing you spend money on. Every coffee, every snack, every subscription. Not in an app that hides the numbers behind graphs, but by hand. Feel the numbers, everything. Watch your habits appear in ink. By the end of the month, you won't need a financial advisor to tell you what's holding you back. You'll see it in your own handwriting, everything. Awareness creates power. And once you see where your money leaks, you can start sealing the holes. Here's something interesting about discipline. It compounds just like money does, everything. The first month you save feels restrictive. The second month feels challenging. But by the third month, something changes. You start feeling proud. You start seeing progress, everything. And progress creates motivation. Suddenly, you're not fighting the urge to spend. You're chasing the feeling of growth, everything. You start thinking differently. Not, I can't afford that, but I don't need that right now. That small shift is massive, everything. Because once you stop seeing money as something to spend and start seeing it as something to grow, your life changes completely. There's another truth about managing money, everything. It's not just about earning more, it's about keeping more. The person making $3,000 a month but managing it wisely can be wealthier than someone earning $10,000 and wasting it carelessly, everything. Wealth isn't measured by income, it's measured by margin. The gap between what you earn and what you keep. That margin is freedom. It's the space between survival and choice, everything. It's where peace lives. Now, let's get real. There will be times when life tests your financial discipline. A friend will invite you somewhere expensive. A trend will tempt you, everything. An emergency will hit when you least expect it. And in those moments, your habits will decide for you. Not your emotions, not your mood, your habits, everything. That's why building discipline before wealth is so important. You don't rise to your goals, you fall to your systems. Think about the people who are truly financially free, everything. They're not the ones showing off. They're the ones who sleep well. They're not driven by appearances, they're driven by peace. That's the real luxury, not a new car, everything. But the feeling that if something goes wrong, you're okay. Financial security isn't about having everything you want. It's about knowing you can handle what you don't want, everything. If you've ever lived paycheck to paycheck, you know that money problems aren't just financial, they're emotional. Worrying about bills drains your confidence, everything. It makes you reactive instead of proactive. But when you start managing your money intentionally, something powerful happens inside you. You begin to walk differently, everything. You start thinking before you spend, planning before you earn. You feel in control again. That control doesn't come from the bank, it comes from you, everything. And here's something few people understand. Money is a reflection of your self-worth. Not the number in your account, but the way you treat that number. When you respect your resources, everything, you're saying to yourself, I deserve stability, I deserve peace. Every dollar saved becomes a vote for your future. Everything, every unnecessary purchase avoided is a quiet declaration of self-respect. Over time, these choices don't just change your finances, they change your identity, everything. You stop seeing yourself as someone who hopes to make it and start becoming someone who knows they're building something real, everything. You'll notice that as you grow in financial discipline, you'll start attracting opportunities differently. People trust those who handle money with wisdom. Employers, partners, everything, even friends, they feel it. Because financial control radiates quiet confidence. It says you're not desperate, you're deliberate. You don't need to prove anything, everything. You're building something that lasts. Let me share a simple but powerful mindset shift. Stop chasing money and start mastering value. Chasing money creates anxiety, everything. Building value creates abundance. When you focus on developing skills, serving others, and solving problems, money follows naturally, everything. But if your energy is spent trying to grab what you haven't grown into, you'll always feel behind. Wealth is a reflection of growth, not greed, everything. And that's why discipline isn't a punishment, it's preparation. One of the biggest traps people fall into is lifestyle inflation. The moment income rises, spending rises with it. Everything. It's a silent destroyer of progress. You tell yourself you deserve better, and you do. Everything. But better doesn't have to mean bigger. The most dangerous sentence in money management is, I can afford it. Because often, it means, I can afford it right now, everything, but not forever. The wealthy think long-term. They buy what aligns with their goals, not their moods. The truth is, wealth isn't flashy. It's quiet. It's the car that's paid off, everything. It's the emergency fund that gives peace of mind. It's the ability to walk away from a toxic job because you have options, everything. That's real freedom. And it's built through thousands of small, disciplined decisions that no one applauds you for. There's a saying, if you can't manage funders and Lozen, everything, you won't manage 10,000. It's true. Money doesn't change your habits, it exposes them. So if you want more, master what you have first. Everything. Make every dollar a soldier working for you, not a prisoner escaping you. Build a habit of purpose with every purchase, every payment, every plan. Everything. Because discipline turns money from stress into strategy. And don't confuse simplicity with scarcity. Everything. Living below your means doesn't mean living beneath your potential. It means creating space for growth. Minimalism isn't about owning less. It's about being owned by less. Everything. Every time you say no to what drains you, you say yes to what frees you. Eventually, something amazing happens. You stop feeling like you're missing out. You stop chasing comparison. Everything. You start realizing that peace feels richer than luxury ever could. Everything. Your financial discipline becomes a reflection of inner discipline. And that's the kind of wealth that can't be taken away. Because in the end, everything. Managing money isn't about greed or even success. It's about mastery. It's about walking through life knowing that no matter what happens, you're in control of your choices, everything, your resources, and your future. When you build discipline before wealth, you don't just create money. You create confidence, everything. And that's the kind of wealth that multiplies in every area of your life, everything. There comes a moment when you stop chasing control of the outside world and finally realize the real battlefield has always been inside, everything. The power you've been searching for doesn't come from managing other people, predicting outcomes, or forcing life to obey your plans. It comes from mastering yourself, your mouth, everything, your mind, your mood, and your money. That's total control. Not a rigid, exhausting perfection, but a calm, steady strength that moves through life with purpose. Everything. It's the kind of power you can't fake, and no one can take from you. Think about it. Most people spend their entire lives reacting. Someone says something rude, everything, and they instantly defend themselves. Something goes wrong and frustration spills out. They get tired and suddenly their mind spirals into fear or doubt. They see someone else succeed, everything, and their emotions twist into comparison. That's what it looks like to live from the outside in. Life pulls the strings, and we dance. But when you learn to live from the inside out, everything, it's the opposite. You become the one holding the strings. You decide what energy enters your world, what words leave your mouth, what thoughts take root, and where your money flows. Everything. You move with intention instead of reaction. Living from the inside out doesn't mean being detached or emotionless. It means being anchored. Everything. Like a tree that doesn't panic when the wind blows, because its roots go deep. You still feel, you still care, you still dream, but you don't crumble when things don't go your way. Everything. You've trained yourself to pause, breathe, and choose your response instead of surrendering it. Imagine waking up on a day that starts wrong. The alarm doesn't go off. Everything. You spill your coffee. Someone cuts you off in traffic. The old version of you might let irritation snowball. Everything. Cursing the morning and letting that negative energy bleed into every interaction afterward. But the controlled version of you recognizes the trap. You catch yourself mid-reaction and think, everything. I'm not giving my peace away for this. You let it go. You breathe. You stay grounded. That's mastery in motion. Small, invisible acts of power that most people overlook. Everything. True control is not about domination. It's about direction. You don't need to control people. You need to control your choices. You don't need to predict the future. Everything. You need to prepare your mindset. You don't need to suppress your emotions. You need to guide them. Every moment you practice this, you shift from survival to sovereignty. Everything. The greats understood this. Think of people who radiate calm, leaders, teachers, spiritual guides, even quiet everyday individuals who seem unshakable. Everything. They're not lucky or born that way. They've simply trained their inner world. They've learned to respond with patience where others explode, to listen where others interrupt. Everything. To delay gratification where others chase instant pleasure. Their calmness is not a gift, it's a discipline. Control begins with awareness. You can't master what you don't observe. Everything. Throughout your day, notice what pulls you off balance. Is it certain people, certain words, certain fears? Everything. Awareness is like turning on the lights in a messy room. You can't clean what you can't see. Once you recognize your triggers, you start reclaiming your power. Instead of saying, everything, that person made me angry, you begin to think, That person revealed where I still need patience. That small shift changes everything, everything. And this is where transformation deepens. When you realize control isn't about restriction, it's about freedom. Most people think discipline is a cage, but it's actually the key, everything. A disciplined person can enjoy freedom safely because they know how to manage it. When you control your words, you earn trust. When you control your thoughts, you gain peace, everything. When you control your emotions, you find clarity. And when you control your money, you create stability. Freedom is never found in chaos, it's found in mastery, everything. Consider how this plays out in relationships. Many conflicts happen not because of major issues, but because someone couldn't control their mouth in a moment of emotion. Everything. Words are powerful. Once spoken, they can't be taken back. But someone who lives from the inside out learns to pause. They ask, everything. Will what I'm about to say make this better or worse? That one question can save relationships, careers, and peace of mind. Silence, when chosen from strength, everything, can be the loudest form of power. Then there's the mind, a battlefield for so many. How many dreams have died because of overthinking everything? How many peaceful nights have been stolen by imaginary scenarios that never happened? Living from the inside out means learning to quiet the noise, everything. You remind yourself that not every thought deserves attention, and not every fear deserves belief. You start to choose your thoughts like you choose your company. Carefully, everything. You learn to replace doubt with discipline and anxiety with awareness. And when it comes to mood, that's where your emotional intelligence shines. Imagine someone insulting you, everything, lying about you, or trying to provoke you. Your old self might have reacted instantly, defending, explaining, proving. But the controlled version of you doesn't need to prove anything, everything. You understand that people's behavior is a reflection of their state, not your worth. You stay grounded in truth. You respond only when it serves your peace, everything. That's what emotional maturity looks like. Not reacting to every fire, because you've learned you don't need to attend every argument you're invited to, everything. Now think about money. It's one of the clearest mirrors of your self-control. Many people don't have a money problem, they have a discipline problem. They spend emotionally, everything, not intentionally. They chase pleasure instead of purpose. But when you master your inner world, your financial life follows. You start spending with awareness. You save with intention, everything. You invest with patience. You realize that money is not the goal. It's a reflection of how well you manage yourself. Living from the inside out means your peace isn't for sale, everything. You no longer give people or problems the power to ruin your day. You stop waiting for perfect circumstances to feel stable, because stability lives within you, everything. You learn to move gracefully through change. Even when life throws challenges, you adapt without collapsing. You trust your ability to stay composed, everything. That's real power, not control over life, but control within life, everything. There's a beautiful strength that appears when you stop fighting everything outside and start refining everything inside. It's like the moment a storm hits everything, and you realize you're not afraid of it anymore. You've weathered enough to know it'll pass, and even if it doesn't, you'll handle it, everything. That's inner peace. Not the absence of storms, but the confidence that you can stand through them. One of the greatest signs of total control is emotional neutrality. Everything. It doesn't mean you stop feeling joy, excitement, or sadness. It means you stop being enslaved by those emotions. You can experience anger without becoming it. Everything. You can feel disappointment without collapsing. You can feel excitement without losing focus. That kind of balance makes you magnetic. People sense your calm. They trust your stability. Everything. They follow your energy because it feels safe. And the irony is, once you stop trying to control everything, life starts aligning with you more easily. Everything. The universe tends to cooperate with people who are in control of themselves. Opportunities find them, relationships flow, ideas flourish. Not because they force things, everything, but because they move with grace and clarity. Their energy isn't scattered, it's directed. Their actions are consistent. Their words carry weight. Everything. Every day becomes a practice ground for mastery. The way you respond to traffic, to temptation, to frustration, to success. It's all training. Everything. Every small act of self-control builds the muscle of total control. You learn that peace isn't something you find once and keep forever. It's something you cultivate daily. Everything. Like a garden, it needs tending. You pull the weeds of negativity. You water the seeds of gratitude. You protect it from anything that drains your light. And as you live this way, Steady, everything. Aware, intentional, something incredible happens. People notice the difference. You walk into rooms differently. You speak slower, move calmer, think clearer, everything. You stop chasing validation because your validation comes from alignment. You don't need to prove who you are anymore. Your energy speaks before your mouth does. Everything. That's what it means to live from the inside out. It's not about perfection or control over others. Everything. It's about mastering the one person you'll spend every moment of your life with, yourself. When you do that, everything else starts falling into place naturally. Everything. You become unshakable not because life gets easier, but because you've become stronger. You've built a power that doesn't depend on circumstance, a power that radiates from within. Everything. And once you've experienced that kind of peace, you'll never want to go back, because when you control your mouth, your mind, your mood, everything, and your money, you finally realize you've been controlling the only thing that ever truly mattered, your life.